Good evening, everyone. I'm pleased to present the second live streaming episode in English of Anubi TV. We are really happy with the success on the first live stream. In this episode, we will talk about the secret of the mummies. Now, I will show you a little short video for introducing our lecture. Good evening again. Guests in this episode are Dr. Nermine Momen. Good evening.
Good evening, Leonardo. How are you?
And Dr. Sherif Shaban. Good evening, Sherif.
Good evening, Leo.
Okay. And the first speaker is Dr. Nermine Momen. Nermine, speaking about yourself and your work for our spectator.
Okay. Firstly, nice to meet you again, Leonardo and Sherif. And now I'm Nermine AbdelMomen, archaeologist, general manager of archaeological documentation department in Pharaohs site, followed the Ministry of Antiquity, responsible of registering and number the staple monuments and the movable artifacts that were extracted from the site. Also, I responsible of coordinating with databases of the sites and the museums to make classify and number the objects that belong to our site. I worked about for about 15 years in Giza Pyramid Zone with Dr. Hawass in many fields, like as chief inspector responsible of collecting data about the sites to can update the sites that followed the Giza zone. Also shared in many excavation work in specific sites inside the pyramid, like the third pyramid area, and supervised the restoration work in the outer casing of Sphinx. Also supervise the epigraphy department in the site also. Also, I shared in or responsible of the work in foreigner mission, like Japanese mission, to make reconstruction for the daily life scenes of the tomb of Idut. I had master degree. I got master degree in museum field. My thesis was about integrating a site management plan for a Pharaohs site and incorporating a museum within a site under supervised with Dr. Hawass. In the latest 5 years until now, I am assigned by Dr. Hawass and Dr. Waziri, the Ministry of Antiquity, to register and document the latest discoveries of tombs at Saqqara, like Wahti, and in Giza zone, like Behnuika.
Thank you very much, Nermine. It's a very expensive your biography. It's a very my honor for you have a guest for this. For our episode. Nermine, I ask you Nermine, not doctor, for reason. Okay, and Nermine will talk for us about the mummification ritual.
Okay, but firstly, we are talking today about an interesting topic: the mummification process and the mummies, the mysteries and stories behind the ancient Egyptian mummies. But firstly, there are some questions faced us about what is the concept of the mummification, and what are the steps that followed by ancient Egyptians to conduct this process, and who is leading this process? Firstly, I would define the mummification process as a preservation for the deceased body for afterlife, by removing the internal organs and wrapping the whole body with cartonnage and with linen, pure linen. This process was very important to the ancient Egyptians because it served the beliefness about the life again in the other world. They wanted to keep the body intact, so it could be transported to spiritual afterlife. Also, they wanted to be ready to enable the body to unite with the soul or ka, to can recognizable for the gods and to receive offerings from his relatives.
Hello,
And
Nermine,
I
we
will
have-
try display
ecco,
some photos
ecco,
to can
come again.
here. Okay.
Okay.
The first picture, please, Leonardo.
With the
Okay.
problem about 20 seconds, we have missing. Hello? Hello? Dr. Momen have the problem for connection.
Process was mainly.
Eccolo. Nermine?
Okay, I heard you. I heard you, Leonardo.
Okay. Go. You're speaking.
Oh, okay.
Nermine, it's a very, very big problem for the connection. And you wait again.
I took up people who couldn't afford. No, but.
Hello?
Hello?
Bye.
Hello?
Speaking. Now
Okay.
we have you online.
Okay. The question.
We have again the problem for the connection for Nermine. We had the problem.
The question is a priest wearing a margin of the cemetery and the tomb. Anubis was closely associated with mummification and the embalming process. He was depicted on the walls of the tombs and on the scenes of the afterlife books like Book of Dead and Imidwat. By the way, Imidwat means what is in the other world. He was depicted as a protector of dead who managed the priests, who attended to dead, wore leopard skin and conduct sacred rituals for the deceased body. Next, please.
What?
Next picture. Next, please. Next picture. Please.
Okay.
The next picture. Yeah. Mummification. There are steps followed by the ancient Egyptian to carry out this process. Started with the announcement of the death. That embalming began in a special tent called Ibu. Body is washed in Nile in purpose of purification. After that, the brain was pulled out by a hook through the nose. By the way, the brain was considered a garbage for ancient The next, please, next picture.
Okay.
Next. Okay. Another step, it's very important step for this process, removing the internal organs through the left side of the body and mummified and stored in small coffins called Canopic Jars, except the heart, which you keep in the body for judgment. By the way, the heart, as for the ancient Egyptians, is considered the center of intelligence and emotion, so they tend to maintain or keep it in its original place inside the body. Okay. Another step, keeping the body in salt for about 40 days. It's known as natron salt. Natron salt contains some chemical materials like sodium, bicarbonate, sodium, and sulfate. something like that, to absorb all the moisture from the body to be dry. Okay. Second picture, please. The next picture, please. Okay. After about 40 days, stuff the body with linen to give it more human shape. Then, after 70 days, we're wrapping the whole body in bandage. The last step, the body was finally placed in a decorated coffin with his belongings, such like canopic jars, furniture, games, potteries, and even food was placed in the tombs for the long afterlife journey. So next, please. Next. Next, please. Okay. Canopic jars. They are small coffins used during the mummification process to preserve the viscera of the deceased. They were curved with protectors' heads. The first head, baboon head, is happy, looked after the lungs, and human head is misty, looked after the liver. The third one, jackal head, is دوامة F, looked after the stomach. And falcon head is قدح سنو F, looked after intestines. Okay. The next. Okay. Now, I want to talk about the most famous mummies in ancient Egypt, from the most famous mummies, which were a part of famous catch, which discovered in Deir el-Bahari in 1881, the mummy of the king Ramses III, who was the second pharaoh of the 20th dynasty and the last great pharaoh who had the authority over Egypt. He was assassinated in a plot conducted by his minor wife, or secondary wife, her name is Thea, and his son, the Prince Pentawar. He was murdered as a part of plot woman known as Harim plot by his wife and his son, the owner of the mummy, the screaming mummy. Next. Okay. We can see now the screaming mummy. The screaming mummy belonged to the Prince Pentawar. Recent studies by Dr. Hawass and a scientific team with CT scan and DNA proved that the screaming mummy belonged to the Prince Pentawar, the son of the king Ramses III, who was forced to commit suicide by hanging as a punishment for his involvement in the killing of his father, Ramses III. What is known as Harim plot, that I mentioned before, which was mentioned in a judicial papyrus of Turin, which contains the main story or a part from the story of this plot. As for the screaming mummy, as we can see, it's very unusual because it appears to have been embalmed quickly without removing brain and his viscera also. He was left until his body became stiff and his mouth was opened such like that, even if he was screaming out of fear or pain. Okay. Something else. As for the ancient Egyptians used to wrap their mummies with linen, pure linen, but the murderous son was punished by wrapping his body with sheep skin, which indicated that he was considered unclean and destined to hell after life. From the point of the ancient Egyptian view, the Prince Pentawar was guilty, and they deal with him as he deserved. The next picture. Okay. The same royal cache in Deir el-Bahari contained a mummy of woman showing signs of terror, pain, and screaming on her face, known as Screaming Woman Mummy. Her head, when she was discovered, her head was discovered to right side. Her legs are bent and were wrapped at the ankle. So, what is the truth about the Screaming Woman Mummy? Did the woman face the same fate as the Prince Pentawar? Also, Dr. Zehi and his scientific team could to solve this mystery. by CT scan was conducted to the mummy, and the results indicated that the woman died in her 60s, but her body, unlike that of Pentower, it had received care from the mummifiers and embalmers, and using pure linen to wrap it. So it was assumed that the circumstances of her death different from that of the other mummy, I mean Pentower, the mummy of Pentower. The results of the medical examining indicated that the woman was infected with severe disease in the arteries of her body, which caused narrowing of the blood vessels. Something happened like heart attack, which led to sudden death. The situation was the reason of her body position with her legs bent and wrapped at ankle that I mentioned before. So the embalmers were unable to secure the mouth shut or to put her body in the usual position. Okay. Next, please. Okay. I want to talk about a new discovery, Mummification Workshop, which was discovered by the Egyptian German Archaeological Mission since 2016, dating back to more than 2,500 years ago. It discovered at Saqqara area. They found out storage inside the ancient workshop containing some oils and materials used in embalming process. Also, there were a collection of pottery vessels, bowls, and something like measuring cups were found also. These findings revealed more about the oils which were used in the mummification process. Among the artifacts found fragments of cartonnage, canopic jars, and the marble clay, faience cups, as well as hundreds of small stone statues, gilded silver masks. Okay. The next. Okay. Here I wanted to illustrate an idea about the pyramids and mummies. As we know, the Egyptians believed that there were many gods oversaw different of life of earth, and it's important for someone to can reach the gods, like the god Osiris. As for the pharaohs, I mean kings and queens, were thought to be gods themselves. Some were buried in elaborate tombs called pyramids. We know the pyramids. The process of mummification and pairing for pharaohs was done to help them to travel successfully through underworld in a long journey by their funerary boats. And I want to talk about the royal burials because costly ornaments were wrapped among the bandage, which explains why tomb robbers stole not only the valuables in the tombs, but the bodies of themselves. No complete body of the king has ever been found in a pyramid. Okay. Second picture. Okay. Here I will talk about the medical texts that shedding a new light on the ancient practice of mummification. Recently discovered inside a much larger work, the papyrus document being studied by Egyptologists and scientists. But even today, our understanding of exactly how they were made is incomplete, although the basics of the mummification the mummification process in general are well known. In a process that was partly practical and partly ritual. Okay, indeed, there are many details of the process that aren't known. This is like many crafts. Mummification was a sacred undertaking, and the priests carefully guarded their secrets. But we knew more details because of the studying about in the medical and medical papyrus, which carried out by the scientists. These details, including I will mention some examples, like including receipts and how to use different types of bandage. It also includes details about the practice of placing a piece of red linen over the deceased's face because red linen is considered a protective material from bacteria. It's considered antibacterial. Another example, we realize the details of some of rituals involved in the process, like opening of the mouth ceremony. That was considered a famous symbolic ritual, which was described in funerary texts such as the pyramid text. It was performed by Anubis in purpose of the purpose giving the life again after death, to make the deceased breathe and speak again in the afterworld, and to can receive the judgment process. Okay. Well, I'm finished, but
I'm
I want
finished.
to,
Okay.
I wanted to
Thank you
comment
very
on,
much. Thank you very much, Nermine, for your interesting argument, for with the passion you are speaking for these stories for the ritual for mummification. It's very important for ancient Egyptian people. Okay. I following again for our transmission, and I put another video for introducing the another guest.
Archaeologists are
Sorry.
Archaeologists are finally unraveling the secrets of one of the most famous mummy kings of ancient Egypt. Seqenenre was brutally cut down on the battlefield, a new scan suggests. This ancient Egyptian pharaoh reigned about 3,500 years ago, at a time when outsiders known as the Hyksos had conquered the region. Seqenenre revolted against his overlords. Ancient papyrus scrolls provide one theory for why. The Hyksos king said hippos frolicking in a sacred pool in Thebes were keeping him awake. But Thebes was hundreds of miles away from the Hyksos king's city. He ordered the sacred pool destroyed, and the two sides went to war. Seqenenre's mummy was found in 1886, but exactly how he died wasn't clear. Until now, 3D images of the pharaoh reveal numerous grisly wounds. A nearly 3-inch long cut marred his forehead. A sword or axe had sliced open his cheek, and a long weapon, such as a spear, had penetrated the base of his skull. He was likely surrounded on all sides when he died. The mummy's hands were clenched, perhaps because they were bound before he died. Seqenenre lost his battle, but the ancient Egyptians won the war. His son pushed out the occupiers, unified the country, and ushered in the New Kingdom period, when ancient Egypt enjoyed its peak power.
Okay, it's my pleasure introducing our guest. Is Dr. Sherif Shaban. Sherif, you are? I don't stay in on air, and if possible, ask Sherif is outside for the cam. Is Nermine? You can call.
Okay.
Sherif.
Okay, we'll call
Thank
Sherif
you.
now.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Sorry for this problem. Hello, Sherif.
Hello, can you hear me?
Don't have the cam. Hello.
Get me in the stage.
You have your only your picture, but don't have the your cam. If possible, retry again for going on air. Sherif. Hello. It's not normal. It don't have the problem for transmission. Wait, yes, Nermine. We speaking together. And possible when the Sherif will speak again. You are Nermine. Hello. Hello, it's a very problem. From Cairo, there is the problem for the line. And we wait again, arrived our guest. It's a very, very sorry for this situation. But it's maybe it's normal for this problem. Hello? Nermine? You are Nermine? Wait, when Sherif speak again together for your work in Rabu Rawash site, possible when until not arrived, Sherif is speaking for our spectator for your job now in the Abu Rawash site.
Okay. Abu Rawash site considered, as for me, it's an open museum.
It's arrived, Sherif.
Okay.
Okay. See me?
Closed another windows. Do you have the windows open? Aspetta, okay. Speaking now, Sherif.
Okay.
Good evening, Sherif. And hello. Nermine, we speak again Abu Rawash site.
Okay. Abu Rawash site is a rich site of monuments. I think it had a long period from prehistoric dynasty until Roman, Greek and Roman period. And the famous monument in Abu Rawash site, the pyramid of the king Jedefra, and the complex of the pyramids. It's very okay. You heard me?
What? Yes. I opened the mic. It's a very, very problem this evening. Okay. Sherif, you are now. Okay.
So we have the curse of the Pharaohs.
Yes. It's the damnation memorial for the Pharaoh for our
Yes. When we are talking about mummies, we must have the curse of the mummies.
Okay, allora for our spectator, you tell us for the most famous mummies in Egypt.
Okay, thank you, Leo, for this opportunity. Let me introduce myself for all my friends. I'm Sherif Shaban. I have a PhD in History of Art from Cairo University, especially in the Pharaonic period. And I'm a lecturer in the university for the Roman art, for the ancient Egyptian art, and for the biblical archaeology. I'm working in the tourism and the antiquities ministry, and especially in the field of the information center. And I'm the scientific supervisor of the official website of the ministry. And I'm also working in the field of cultural development in the ministry. I'm working for developing culture in schools, universities, museums, making museum schools for public. That's the main of my work in the ministry. So let's talk about the mummies before if anything wrong could happen. I will thank you. I will thank Nermine. And to continue what Nermine said, that we are talking about the most famous mummies of ancient Egypt. Let's together reveal the secrets of these mummies. Let me talk about some of the most important mummies of our great pharaohs. We talked about the mummy of Tutmosis Ramses III. You have the movies about Seti I, about Second Ra. Let me continue and to talk about the golden boy, Tutankhamun. So could you please put up the photo?
Okay.
We have, yes, this golden boy, Tutankhamun, one of the most famous pharaohs in the ancient Egyptian and the modern Egyptian history. Why he is so famous? He didn't even have a war like Tutmosis III, Ramses II, because we found his tomb intact, all his treasures inside his tomb, nearly in 1922 by Hewlett Carter. Before 1922, we didn't know anything about Tutankhamun because he was a hieratic king by the followers of Amun, because he was a principal part of the Amarna period and Akhenaten. After the death of Akhenaten, Tutankhamun ascended the throne at the age of 9, and then he was dead at the age of 18. He ruled Egypt for about 9 years only. But what did he do in Egypt in these 9 years? He did nothing. Why he did nothing? Because he was weak. He was physically weak. He had problems, physical problems. He had genetic problems. He can't walk well. Can you show me the other picture, please?
Okay.
Tutankhamun had problems in his leg, especially his leg. He can't walk well. Blood didn't reach his toes, so he always used sticks to walk. He even didn't go to fight in wars, even in hunting trips. He go to hunt while sitting on a chair. That makes his life terrible. Even he is very young. After his death, he was buried in his tomb in Thebes. Hewlett Carter discovered his tomb, discovered his mummy, but he humiliated this mummy. He wanted to take off the mask by a very brutal way. He cut off the body, he cut off the bones of the mummy. That I think that Hewlett Carter is a butcher, not an archaeologist. He damaged the mummy of Tutankhamun badly. That's appeared later when we did X-ray for the mummy in 1986. We showed by Dr. Harris. He showed us that the bones of the mummy were separately by cutting. So that's the huge mistake of Hewlett Carter that he did for the mummy of Tutankhamun. Another question, how did Tutankhamun was died? Because of the terrible period of Amarna, many archaeologists and scientists thought that Tutankhamun was killed by the two most powerful men of his age, the Vizier-I and the commander Hormahab. It was thought that Vizier-I he wanted to kill Tutankhamun, or Hormahab made a conspiracy to get rid of him and to ascend the throne, especially that Egypt has a very huge problems inside and outside Egypt. But by the modern scientific ways, especially DNA, CT scan, we described the main reason of his death. let me thank for the project that Dr. Hawass and our pioneer doctors in the medicine school of Cairo University, which was named the Egyptian Mummies Project. It began in 2005, and it's still working now for it. We worked for the Mummy of Tutankhamun. We made CT scan, we made DNA, and we discovered the truth. Tutankhamun hadn't been murdered by anybody. He was too weak to be murdered. And the scenario of his death, throughout the scientific ways we did by DNA, by CT scans, showed us the following. Tutankhamun was in a hunting trip in Giza, maybe, or in Saqqara, and he float from his chariot, was injured by his leg. He cannot wake up from this fall, but his injury was very, very bad. He was bloodily injured, and he was affected by malaria. He had a huge fever, 2 days, and he was dead. Doctors of the palace couldn't make anything for him because he was previously very weak. As we said, he had genetic problems that he couldn't protect himself. So the malaria was affecting him badly, and he was dead by malaria. Not by murdering, not by killing, not by everything that we see. Can you move us for the second photo?
Okay.
Is Dr. Hawass with the Mummy of Tutankhamun. And for the curse of Tutankhamun, Dr. Hawass, when he put this mummy in the CT scan, the machine stopped. Why did it stop? We didn't know. It stopped for about half an hour, and then it continued working by itself. That's a funny thing about the curse of the Pharaohs. Me myself, I don't believe the curse of the Pharaohs, but what happened today with our program, I begin to believe the curse of the Pharaohs. Could you show the next, please?
Okay.
Here is actually the imagination for what was Tutankhamun. Here, the young Tutankhamun, he always used sticks while walking. He had real problems in his legs, especially his left leg. He can't walk normally. That made his moving very bad and very hard. So when he fell from the chariot, he couldn't stand up again, and he had this badly injured. That's, we guess, and we are nearly think that this is the main that's reason of Tutankhamun. Next, please. So, after Tutankhamun, we will talk about this pretty lady. This is King Hatshepsut. I like to call her King Hatshepsut because she ruled Egypt as a king, not as a queen. The ancient Egyptian rules forbade women to rule Egypt alone or to rule Egypt as women. That made Hatshepsut to have male titles, male form, wearing male customs to succeed the throne of Egypt. She was married by King Moses II, but he was a weak man, and after his death, she had the real power to lead Egypt. Egypt, through her age, was flourished, and It has a great political and economic power through the whole region of the Middle East. She had great economic trips, especially in Africa, the trip of Punt Island, Somalia nowadays. This great trip that she inscribed on the walls of her temple of the Deir al-Bahri. She had a special or an abnormal relationship with her architect, Vizier, and her daughter keeper, Sinmut. This guy, we don't know a lot of him, and we don't know a lot of the relationship, especially that Hatshepsut lived for about 20 years, ruled Egypt with a power, very good power, and made Egypt a very strong and very powerful country. Many theories about the cause of death of Queen Hatshepsut. We thought, some people thought that Queen Hatshepsut was murdered by her nephew, Thutmose III, especially that she captured him when he was young and she placed him in the palace till he may grow up. Many people thought that some priest of Amun and some great powerful men of the palace murdered her because her relationship with Senmut. Until 2006, we didn't know anything about her destiny because we didn't find her mummy. So some imaginable theories thought that Queen Hatshepsut made the first transsexual operation in the world, especially that she was ruling Egypt as a man, and she was wearing the customs of man and her title of man. But when we found the mummy, all these theories are bullshit, are nothing. The journey of finding this mummy is very fantastic and very fascinating journey. Especially that the mummy of Hatshepsut didn't be found among the other royal mummies in the Deir al-Bahri cache. But Hawass wanted to find the mummy to know the truth. There were two mummies belonging to KV60, but they were in the Egyptian Museum in Tahrir with no names, unknown to feminine mummies. Hawass took these two mummies and made some DNA and CT scan on them. One of them was smart, slim, and the other was obese. Next photo, please. This is one of the two mummies that we found in the Egyptian Museum. And we found that this mummy was an obese woman. Next photo, please. How did we know that this mummy was the mummy of Hatshepsut? In this box, we found the liver of Queen Hatshepsut. Especially, we had her name outside the box and her royal name, Ma'at Kara. But when we made CT scan for the box, we found another surprise. We had one teeth inside the box. So the team of Dr. Hawass made investigations to search for every mummy that they don't have one teeth on the jaws. There was a part for a missing tooth. It was this mummy that its jaws has a missing part for a missing tooth. So we were exactly known that this mummy was for the Queen Hatshepsut. We examined the mummy and we discovered that this lady is normally feminine. She didn't make any transsexual operation. She hadn't any abnormal operations. She is 100% feminine, especially that she had a daughter. But how was she died? We discovered that she suffered a lot. She had severe problems in teeth. So one of her teeth was out. She had diabetes and she was obese. She has problems in bones and she was died by cancer. She was died of about 50 years old and she was about 159 centimeter long. So she died early for a woman for nowadays. But she suffered a lot of many diseases, and that's exceeded any ideas about murder or conspiracies. She died by a disease. Let's talk about the most important and the latest mummy that we did some examinations about it, and we had surprising results about. So let's move for another photo. This is our great hero, our great patriot, Saqqara. This king fought against the Hyksos. This king led Egypt for a great war to kick the Hyksos out of Egypt. But sadly, he didn't make his plans correctly, and his son Camus and then Ahmose continued his war to free Egypt from Hyksos and to build the ancient Egyptian empire. Here we have the mummy of Saqqara. This mummy was found in Thebes, and it moved to the Cairo Museum. We made a lot of examinations for the mummy, and a couple of weeks ago we had surprising results about the mummy, especially made by Dr. Sahar Salim, and I would thank her efforts to reveal the mummy or the secrets of this mummy. This mummy suffered a lot. We thought that he was killed in a battle, but unfortunately he wasn't killed normally. No, he was captured, wrapped by his arms. He was badly treated by the Hyksos and was hit 7 hits on his head. We discovered 7 wounds, 7 bloody wounds by axes, by swords, by other tools that were deadly wounds that made him the first or the famous martyr in ancient Egypt. It wasn't an accident, it wasn't a normal killing, but we thought that it was like a murdering ceremony. The Hyksos captured this man and they tied him and they treated him badly, kicked him many times, they punished him and they let him to die. He was thrown on his left side for many days, I thought for many weeks. Then a military Egyptian troop found him and returned him back to Thebes and made another vacation process for him. So let's have another photo, please. This is Dr. Sahar Salim making the CT scan for the mummy, and we discovered that the mummy was in very, very bad condition. We found the bones were not in the correct way. They were out of the body. The second photo, please. Is the head of our hero. He had 7 badly wounds. He had 7 badly hits on his head, but as we said, by axes, by swords, and we discovered that these wounds were by weapons made by the Hyksos. That the main aim, and that's the surprising results that we had by the CT scan and by the DNA, that he was badly injured and badly killed by the Hyksos. Let me thank for the science, for the medicine science, that they collaborated with archaeology. We made great cooperation together to reveal the secrets of the mummies. In Egypt, we are waiting for a great ceremony. We hoped to have it in the last year, but for the coronavirus, we didn't have it, but we are willing to have it this year. And it's the royal parade. This royal parade that will move 22 of our great royal mummies from the Cairo Museum till the Namek Museum in Fustat. This parade will be shown by the whole world live, second by second. You will see the great 22 kings of Egypt walking in the streets of Egypt till for the last rest in the Namek Museum. God willing, to end the corona, and we have this great parade that the whole world will show how Egypt's past, present, and future can make something that we all over the world can be proud of. Thank you, Leah.
Thank you very much, Sherif. Thank you very much for your speak, for your explication for the most famous mummies in Egypt. Thank you also, Nermine, for speaking for us for mummification, and we are many apologize for the problem for the connection, but it's normal. We use the internet system. All world is a connection. It's a problem for the server, for the line, for the internet. But
no, it's the curse of the mummies.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a Tutankhamun, damnatio memory, and we is the second episode for our collaboration from Cairo with the Sherif, with Nermine, with Nabil, and in the future we have another many quantity of the guests from Egyptian with the possible speaking for another argument. And this evening is a very pleasure for me and the Sherif and the Nermine. I accepted our invited, and we hope we look forward for next episode. And is a very good evening for everyone, for family, is for your life. Good life for all. Good evening.